Saint Ignatius of Loyola, a soldier, a pilgrim, a spiritual leader whose life changed the course of Christian history. His journey from worldly ambition to divine mission is one of courage, humility, and unwavering trust in God. In this episode, we'll walk through his extraordinary story. From the halls of nobility to the streets of Jerusalem, from his cave in Manresa to the founding of the Jesuit order. Along the way, his timeless words will inspire us to find God in all things. Early life, 1491 to 1506. Ignatius of Loyola was born Íñigo López de Oñaz y Loyola in 1491 at Loyola Castle in the Basque Country of northern Spain. He was the youngest of 13 children in a noble family. His father, Beltrán Yáñez de Oñaz, was a local lord, and his mother, Marina Sáenz de Licona, came from another distinguished line. From a young age, Íñigo was raised in the refined courts of Spanish nobility. He learned to read and write, but more importantly, he mastered the skills of a knight, fencing, horsemanship, and the arts of courtly behavior. His heart was set on glory, honor, and service to the king, not yet to God. He dreamed not of sainthood, but of chivalric fame. Military career and ambition, 1506 to 1521. As a young man, Íñigo entered the service of high-ranking officials, where he refined his manners and political skills. Later, he became a soldier under the Duke of Nájera. He loved elegance, luxury, and adventure. He was known for his bravery and his vanity. In 1521, his destiny took a dramatic turn. The French army attacked Pamplona. The defenders were outnumbered. Though others urged surrender, Ignatius insisted on standing firm. A cannonball struck his legs, shattering one and badly injuring the other. This was the end of his military career, but the beginning of his spiritual journey. Conversion during convalescence, 1521 to 1522. Ignatius was carried back to Loyola Castle. The surgery was brutal, bones reset without anesthesia. Out of vanity, he even asked for a second operation to fix the shape of his leg, just to wear boots properly. As he lay bedridden, he asked for the romantic adventure novels he loved. Instead, the household had only 2 books, The Life of Christ and The Lives of the Saints. As he read, something began to stir within him. When he imagined himself as a knight-winning fame, he felt a brief thrill, then emptiness. But when he imagined himself imitating saints like Francis and Dominic, he felt a deep and lasting joy. This was the beginning of his conversion. Pilgrimage and spiritual awakening at Montserrat and Manresa, 1522 to 1523. In March 1522, Ignatius set out on a pilgrimage dressed as a beggar. He arrived at the Benedictine monastery of Montserrat. There, he confessed his sins for 3 days, laid down his sword and dagger before the Virgin Mary, and kept vigil through the night, like a knight before a great mission. Then he traveled to the town of Manresa, where he lived for nearly a year. He stayed in a cave, practicing intense prayer and penance. He experienced great spiritual highs and dark nights of doubt. Yet through prayer and grace, he received deep mystical insights. It was during this time that he began drafting the notes that would become the spiritual exercises, a guide to help souls discern God's will. During his time in Manresa, Ignatius experienced profound mystical graces that would shape his entire spiritual legacy. One day, as he sat quietly by the river Cardener, he was suddenly flooded with divine light and understanding. In that moment, he received what he later described as a vision so deep and clear that it transformed his soul. He said that God enlightened him in an instant, teaching him more about divine things than he had ever learned in his whole life before. This mystical experience became a turning point, the wellspring of spiritual insight that later gave rise to his spiritual exercises, guiding countless souls toward God for centuries to come. Pilgrimage to the Holy Land, 1523. In 1523, Ignatius fulfilled a long-cherished dream, to visit Jerusalem. He traveled through Rome and Venice as a poor pilgrim, finally reaching the holy city. His desire was to stay and work for the conversion of souls. But the Franciscan custody, which governed the region under Ottoman rule, forbade him to remain due to safety concerns. Obediently, Ignatius returned to Spain, realizing that to help souls effectively, he needed education. A quiet miracle on the road. During his travels after returning from the Holy Land, Ignatius and his companions encountered a man who was gravely ill on the roadside. While others hesitated, Ignatius approached him with compassion. He prayed earnestly over the sick man, entrusting the situation entirely to God. Not long after, the man recovered, a healing so unexpected that those who witnessed it regarded it as a clear sign of divine grace working through Ignatius. Though he was not known for performing spectacular public miracles, moments like these revealed the quiet power of his faith and the presence of God in his mission. Return to studies, 1524 to 1535. In his 30s, Ignatius went back to school. He studied Latin in Barcelona, then continued at Alcalá and Salamanca. His spiritual conversations attracted followers, but also suspicion. He was briefly imprisoned by the Inquisition, but released without charge. Seeking a more stable environment, he traveled to Paris in 1528 to study at the prestigious University of Paris. There, living in poverty and begging for food, he completed a Master of Arts in 1535. Gathering companions, the first Jesuits, 1534. In Paris, Ignatius's spiritual zeal drew brilliant students to him, Peter Faber, Francis Xavier, and others. On August 15, 1534, in Montmartre Chapel, they vowed poverty and chastity and promised to go to the Holy Land, or if not possible, to serve the Pope. This small group became the nucleus of the Society of Jesus, the Jesuits. Ordination and founding of the Jesuits, 1537 to 1540. In 1537, they were ordained priests in Venice. Unable to reach the Holy Land because of war, they went to Rome. In 1539, they offered themselves to Pope Paul III. On September 27, 1540, the Pope officially approved their new order with the bull Regimini Militatis Ecclesiae. Ignatius, though reluctant, was chosen as the first superior general of the Jesuits in 1541. Leadership and Global Mission, 1541 to 1556. From Rome, Ignatius led the rapidly growing order. He founded the Roman College, later the Gregorian University, and inspired schools across Europe. Jesuit missionaries went to India, Japan, and the Americas. Ignatius emphasized discernment, obedience, and missionary zeal. He guided thousands through letters and spiritual direction. His administrative gifts turned a small band of companions into a global force within 15 years. Final years, death and legacy, 1556. In his later years, Ignatius suffered from poor health, but continued working tirelessly. On July 31, 1556, at age 65, he died peacefully in Rome. He was beatified in 1609 and canonized in 1622 alongside Francis Xavier, Teresa of Avila, Philip Neri, and Isidore the Farmer. His legacy endures. Founder of the Jesuits, author of The Spiritual Exercises, a master of discernment, and a man who showed that holiness begins with inner conversion. Saint Ignatius of Loyola's journey shows us that God can transform ambition into mission, pride into service, and human weakness into divine strength. His life invites us to examine our own hearts, to discern God's call, and to act boldly, trusting in God's providence. May we, like Ignatius, live for the greater glory of God. From a young noble dreaming of glory to a saint who transformed the world, the life of Ignatius of Loyola reminds us that true greatness is found in faith, discipline, and devotion. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And join us for more uplifting stories of saints and heroes of faith.